Good morning, guys. It's a beautiful Monday morning, and I'm here and I'm continuing in Joshua. We're at chapter 6. I'm reading a couple of verses in. It says, from verse 1, "Now the gates of Jericho were tightly shut because the people were afraid of the Israelites. No one was allowed to go out or in. But the Lord said to Joshua, I have given you Jericho, its king and all its strong warriors. You and your fighting men should march around the town once a day for 6 days. 7 priests will walk ahead of the ark, each carrying a ram's horn. On the 7th day, you are to march around the town 7 times with the priests blowing the horns. When you hear the priests give one long blast on the ram's horn, have all the people shout as loud as they can. Then the walls of the town will collapse and the people can charge straight into the town." Now, this morning I want to talk to us about believing God for the impossible. Now, when you hear this scenario, it already spied out and they know what was there, what was not there, and so on. But the walls were, to mankind, impenetrable. Nobody could go in and out unless the gates were open, unless they were allowed in. Now, back in those days, you didn't have those big nuclear bombs that they could just kind of bomb the wall and so on. So they had to figure out, how do we do this? It was basically a mission impossible. How do they get in? How do they get out? And even the people in the city couldn't get in and out, but they believed God. And because they were in communication with God, God was able to direct them to what the exact specific steps. And the thing about it, I believe it was a test of their obedience, because God could have said from the very first day, you just walk around and then do what you gotta, just make a shout, and or just stand there and I'm gonna do boom and blow the walls up or whatever. But he wanted to see their persistence, their consistency, and that they're gonna continue to believe in him in spite of. As the story goes on, you realize that the people would say all sorts of things. What's going on? Why are they just walking around? What's that going to do? But even though it seemed like a mission impossible, they believed God for the impossible. He says, listen, this is what's going to happen. You walk around, you don't say anything, you just keep looking to him. And that's what I want to encourage us in the situation that we're facing. Just follow God's instruction. The Bible says, stand still and see the salvation of your God. You stand still. At various times, as long as you're in communication with God, he would bring certain scriptures to you and tell you what it is you need to do in that particular situation. And that's what I want to encourage us to do. Whatever it is God says, follow it to the letter. If he says just do this once, just do it twice. And you got to remember, you got to keep your communication open and follow what he says and believe him for the impossible. I don't think anybody, in a natural mind figured out what was going to happen, but he says, hey, the walls are going to fall down. And history showed that the walls did fall down, and it fell in, so that it was easy for them to walk up on it like a ramp and do what they got to do and take the city. And it happened exactly. Why? Because they believed. They believed, like, listen, this is what God says, and I know this is what God is going to do. God says that you're going to have that property. God says that you're going to have that plot of land. God says that you're going to have that job. God says you're going to have that child. God says that things are going to turn around. Believe him for the impossible. No matter how impenetrable the situation seems at this moment, we've got God on our side. We've got prayer. We've got the weapons of our warfare that are not carnal, but they are mighty through God. They can pull down strongholds. They can destroy every work of the enemy. So I want us today, as we go into this week, go in believing God for the impossible. Don't bother with what's going on around you, what people might say and they might do and whatever. You just do what God tells you to do and believe him, and you will be able to see the manifestation of what may seem impossible. All right? That's my word of encouragement. You have a marvelous Monday. Remember, he loves you and I do too. Be blessed, guys.